One hidden voice on the pit wall could change the entire 2026 Formula One season. Ferrari has the car. Ferrari has the drivers. Charles Leclerc looks sharper. Lewis Hamilton brings championship intelligence, and the team finally feels more stable under pressure. But one problem keeps coming back. When races turn chaotic, Ferrari still loses time in the decisions that matter most. And that is where the real story begins. Because while Red Bull faces a wave of internal changes, one of its most important strategic minds has become the name everyone is watching. If Ferrari adds that missing piece, this may not be just an upgrade. It could be the move that changes who controls Sundays. Ferrari seems ready, but that's still not enough. Before we delve into today's video, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments which country or city you're watching from. I'll read them all. The first impression is strong. Better than in years. The SF26 finally feels consistent on tracks of completely different natures. Tire degradation, which for so long was Ferrari's Achilles heel, is under control. Race pace is no longer a visible weakness. And when the lights go out, both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton are putting the car exactly where it needs to be. Clean starts, solid first stints, controlled aggression. It feels different. It feels complete. But then something happens. Not once, not twice, repeatedly, in patterns that become impossible to ignore. The race begins to change. A safety car appears. The weather changes. The track temperature drops. A rival makes a pit stop that no one expected. And at that exact moment, in that precise second when the decision needs to be made, Ferrari hesitates. Just for a second. Just enough. And in Formula One in 2026, that second point is worth everything. You can see it in the details. Mechanics staring at screens waiting for confirmation that doesn't come. Engineers exchanging messages between the pit wall and the factory. Drivers asking questions on the radio that don't receive immediate answers. It's subtle, but it's there. It's always been there. And this hesitation doesn't just cost positions. It kills momentum. It breaks confidence. And in a championship fight, that's fatal. The 2026 Australian Grand Prix was the most recent and painful example. Leclerc started fourth and took the lead at the first corner thanks to an explosive start, the best on the grid, recognized by everyone in the paddock. Brilliant. The SF26 showed it has real potential. But then a virtual safety car appeared early in the race. Mercedes pitted. Ferrari was out. A defensive decision that turned into an offensive trap. In the end, Leclerc finished third, Hamilton fourth. A podium, yes, but they should have won. And everyone knows it, including the team itself. Leclerc said after the race in China, where the SF26 showed its best pace of the season, "These new cars are a lot of fun to drive. It's all about tactics and energy management. You can really play with that to overtake the competition." This is a sign of a driver with confidence in the car. It's a sign that the hardware is advancing, but the execution still falters. While Ferrari is calculating, another team is already acting. This is where the comparison becomes impossible to ignore. Red Bull Racing built its dominance on something most fans barely notice. It wasn't just speed. It wasn't just design. It was execution. Instant execution. When chaos arrives, they don't freeze. They don't debate. They decide. Fast. Precise. Without hesitation. And this advantage didn't come from luck. It came from a system. A structure built over years. And right at the center of that structure, there's a name that keeps emerging. A name that doesn't appear in headlines. That doesn't give press conferences. That isn't on magazine covers. But that's always there when it matters most. Hannah Schmitz. Calm voice. Clear decisions. Total control under pressure. Drivers trust her. Engineers follow her. Races are shaped by her. Schmitz is 40 years old. She was born in May 1985 in England. She graduated in mechanical engineering from the University of Cambridge in 2009, focusing on optimization theory, regression analysis, and statistical models. This is no coincidence. Formula One strategy is, at its core, a real-time optimization problem with constantly changing variables. Schmitz was built for this since her undergraduate studies. She joined Red Bull in November 2009 as a modeling and simulation engineer. In 2011, she was promoted to senior strategy engineer. In 2021, she took on the role of principal strategy engineer. And from 2026, with the departure of head of strategy Will Courtenay to McLaren, she was promoted to head of race strategy, the highest position in the team's strategic sector. She is the final voice on the pit wall. The last word before the call goes to the driver. But to understand what Schmitz represents, it's not enough to know the job title. You need to understand the races. Let's go back to Brazil in 2019. Verstappen was in the lead when a virtual safety car was deployed near the end of the race. Schmitz made the decision to pit him, initially handing the lead to Lewis Hamilton. It seemed like a mistake. It seemed risky. In the immediate position calculator, it was a loss. But Schmitz's calculator doesn't work in immediate position. It works with pace, tires, timing windows, projected degradation, and the opponent's behavior. With fresh tires and clean air, Verstappen launched a devastating attack. He regained the position. He won the race by 3.9 seconds. Verstappen later said that her composure during the process was insanely calm. That's not casual praise. It's recognition of something specific. Under the most intense pressure in the sport, when most people would raise their voices and compress their thinking, she remained the same. Same frequency. Same process. Hungary 2022. Verstappen starting from 10th place, far from the ideal position. Unexpected grip conditions even before the start of the race. A moment when plans collapse and strategists panic. Instead of clinging to the predefined plan, the call changed. Instantly, tires changed, approach adjusted. The car moved up from the bottom of the grid and won. Not by accident, by decision, by timing, by reading in real time what the race needed, not what the original plan said. 2022 Dutch GP. Zandvoort, a circuit with high degradation, with a huge Verstappen crowd. Schmitz made an early pit stop on lap 18, coming from the lead, on medium tires, to anticipate Mercedes' possible response. The move wasn't just to react to what was happening on the track, it was to anticipate what Mercedes would think of doing. Verstappen won by 3.7 seconds. And then Qatar 2025. Safety car on lap 7. Schmitz ordered both Red Bull cars to pit immediately. McLaren stayed out. A decision questioned internally from the very first second, because voluntarily giving up a position, especially with the title at stake, goes against the instinctive logic of any driver and many engineers. But Schmitz didn't work by instinct. He worked with tire degradation models, safety windows, McLaren's projected pace with old tires, and what that specific compound would do 15 laps later. The result, Verstappen won. His 70th Formula One victory. And Schmitz went to the podium to receive the Constructors' Trophy. NASCAR legend Tony Stewart watched the broadcast and summed it up in 2 words: spectacular Hannah. But what truly makes Schmitz different isn't just instinct. It's the system she's built around herself. In a recent interview with Sports Illustrated, sponsored by AT&T, she described how the operation works behind the scenes. It's vital that we have a seamless transition from our operations room to the track. The operations room is an incredible place where we can analyze data in much more detail than we can at the track. We can access all the onboard cameras, listen to all the drivers' radios, and analyze everything that happens during the race. It's not one person making decisions in a vacuum. It's a network. Dozens of engineers in Milton Keynes processing data in real time and feeding insights into the pit wall. Hundreds of sensors in each car measuring temperature, power delivery, aerodynamic performance, all transmitted continuously. Red Bull's strategy model functions as a second, invisible pit wall, and Schmitz is the bridge between the two. In 2025, this infrastructure was further enhanced with the integration of artificial intelligence tools from Oracle, a team partner. Cloud processing accelerates data analysis and generates real-time insights for strategy optimization. AI does not replace human decision-making, it feeds human decision-making with more information in less time. And when information arrives faster, decisions are made sooner. And when decisions are made sooner, adversaries cannot react. This is what Red Bull has created. Not just a brilliant strategist. An ecosystem designed so that the right decision reaches the right place before any other team has even finished formulating the question. Now pause for a moment. Because this is where the situation begins to change. The same team that mastered this level of execution is no longer the same internally. The hemorrhage began early. Rob Marshall, Chief Engineering Director, went to McLaren in 2023. Adrian Newey, the greatest Formula One car designer in history, left in early 2025 for Aston Martin, taking with him 2 decades of accumulated technical intuition and the long-term vision that shaped every championship-winning car of the Red Bull era. Christian Horner, the historic team principal, was removed from his position. Helmut Marko, the advisor who discovered and developed generations of champions, also left. Jonathan Wheatley, the sporting director who coordinated the operational logistics of the races, left to become Audi's team principal. Will Courtenay, who shared strategic responsibilities with Schmitz as head of strategy, left Red Bull for McLaren, where he will become sporting director. Craig Skinner, chief designer, also left immediately. And then, the latest bombshell, Gian Piero Lambiase, Verstappen's race engineer for over a decade, the man on the other end of the radio when 4 consecutive world titles were won, has announced he's joining McLaren as chief racing officer. His departure is confirmed until 2028. Verstappen once said he would stop racing in Formula One if Lambiase was no longer his engineer. That statement, made years ago, resonates completely differently today. Laurent Mekies, the new team principal who came from Racing Bulls to try and stabilize the ship, spoke to Sky Sports before the Miami GP. We are aware that the priority is to give him a car that he can drive strongly with. We know that we gave him and Isaac a very difficult car in the first 3 races. And we need to give him a car that he can consistently push with. This public admission is revealing. It's not a defensive speech. It's a real acknowledgement. Red Bull's 2026 car, the RB22, using its own engines developed in partnership with Ford for the first time, is far from competitive. In the first 3 races, Verstappen finished 32 seconds behind the winner in one of them. That's not a minor detail. It's a generational difference. What happened? How did a team that dominated Formula One for 4 consecutive years reach a point where its own leaders admit to being behind Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren? The answer isn't simple, but there's a common thread. When an organization loses talent in a concentrated way over a short period, the impact is not linear. It's exponential, because talent doesn't exist in a vacuum, it exists in networks. In relationships of trust built over years. In shared technical languages. In collective intuitions formed by common experience. Newey wasn't just a car designer. He was the technical focal point around which the entire development philosophy revolved. With him leaving, decisions about long-term technical direction needed to be redistributed. Pierre Wacha took over the technical leadership without Newey's layer above him, which is both an opportunity and a pressure. An excellent engineer, but the role he had to take on is different from what he did before. Horner wasn't just team principal. He was the external political strategist who shielded the team from interference and created the space for the technical staff to work. With him gone, new power dynamics emerged internally, and new hierarchies take time to stabilize. Courtenay's departure left Schmitz alone in the top strategic position. That in itself isn't a problem. She was promoted precisely because she has the credentials and the track record. But the redundancy that existed, the ability for quick consultation between 2 aligned senior strategists, is gone. When making split-second decisions with championships at stake, having a second experienced voice isn't a luxury. It's structural security. And now Lambiase. He leaves of his own accord, convinced that the opportunity at McLaren is unique. But he takes with him something that isn't in any manual, the relationship with Verstappen. The synchronicity that can only be built over 1,000 races together. The way he knows exactly what Verstappen needs to hear, when he needs to hear it, in what tone, with what level of detail. This cannot be hired. This cannot be replicated. This is lost. And on the other side of the equation, Ferrari is evolving in exactly the opposite direction. Stability is growing. Leadership is more defined. The environment around the drivers is calmer, more structured, more focused. Less noise. More clarity. After a 2025 that Hamilton described as a nightmare, a season without a single podium finish in a Grand Prix race, something that had never happened in his 2 decades in Formula One, the SF26 represented a genuine turning point. The car was developed under the leadership of Loic Serra as technical director of chassis and Enrico Galtieri on the engine. Hamilton was actively involved in the development process, not only as a test driver but also as a technical collaborator. He spent extensive hours in the simulator in Maranello, contributing specific feedback to areas that limited competitiveness. He later said, "Several of my contributions during the design phase have been implemented in the SF26. I can directly feel the benefits of these changes on the track." The SF26 has the best start on the grid. By far. This is no accident of the calendar. It's the result of a specific technical philosophy linked to a smaller turbo concept which, according to paddock analysis, generates superior launch efficiency. Leclerc jumped into the lead at the first corner in Australia from 4th on the grid. Hamilton has been making similar moves. If both start near the front, they are automatically in the fight for the lead in the first stint. But the impressive chassis coexists with a harsher reality. The 2026 Ferrari engine is still half a second per lap behind Mercedes in qualifying mode. It's not a gap that can be overcome with aerodynamics. It's a power disadvantage that sets strategic limits and pressures the team to compensate in other areas, including tactical decisions. Leclerc has openly stated that he is not entirely in tune with the new cars. The SF26 is gentler on the brakes than the SF25, which benefits Hamilton, whose greatest strength has never been aggressive braking, but limits Leclerc, whose most distinctive talent is precisely the exploitation of the limit in the braking zone. Energy management is critical. Pushing too hard at the wrong time is ineffective. Managing the hybrid system is key. He has been working intensively in the simulator to find the right pace with the new regulations. Hamilton, for his part, seems to have rediscovered a version of himself that was lost in 2025. In China, he said it was one of the most fun races I've had in years. Not just as a result, as an experience. That matters. A driver who is having fun is a driver who is confident. And confidence, in top-level Formula One, translates into tenths of a second. But let's return to the central question. Because it hasn't been answered yet. Why, with all this working perfectly, is Ferrari still not winning? The talent is there. Charles Leclerc is one of the 2 or 3 best drivers in the world under any circumstances. Lewis Hamilton has 7 world titles and decades of experience in high-level racing. The chassis is competitive. Internal management has improved. So what's missing? The answer is always the same: speed of decision-making under pressure. It's not the ability to plan. Ferrari plans very well. It's not the ability to simulate. They have top-notch simulation infrastructure. What's lacking is the ability to act when the plan breaks down. When the race ceases to be what the simulator said it would be and becomes something completely different. At that exact moment, and only at that moment, the difference between great teams and championship-winning teams becomes apparent. In Formula One in 2026, races don't follow scripts. The new technical regulations, with improved ground effect cars and much more complex hybrid engines, mean that power deployment is constantly changing. Aerodynamic behavior adjusts dynamically. Tire degradation evolves lap by lap in ways that models are still learning to predict accurately. And it all happens faster than ever before. The interval between the ideal pit stop window and the end of that window can be a single lap. Sometimes less. Waiting for perfect data is no longer an option. Because the moment certainty arrives, the opportunity is gone. Red Bull understood this before any other team. That's why they dominated. Because they trusted the system. And the system trusted the person making the call. Schmitz isn't a name most Formula One fans know. And there's a reason for that. She actively works to remain invisible to the public. No regular social media presence. No talk show appearances. No merchandise bearing her name. She has just over 176,000 followers on Instagram, a low number considering her role in the sport. Her bio is straightforward: F1 strategist, parent to 2, love what I do, passionate supporter of D&I in motorsport. But inside the paddock, the story is different. She is one of only 11 women in Formula One history to stand on the podium to receive the Constructors' Trophy. Before the 2026 Australian Grand Prix, the FIA dedicated Turn 6 of the Albert Park circuit to her and Laura Muller, Haas race engineer. It was the first time in history that a corner of an F1 circuit was dedicated to women. The initiative was called In Her Corner and coincided with International Women's Day on March 8th. What happens when an asset of this caliber, technical, human, systemic, moves from one team to another? The impact would not be gradual. It would be immediate. Not because she carries a notebook of secrets. Not because she knows Red Bull's proprietary data. But because she brings something that no spreadsheet captures: pattern recognition. The ability to look at a race in progress, process dozens of variables simultaneously, and identify the window. That specific second when the right call changes everything. This pattern is built over hundreds of races, in repeated situations with documented results, in constant calibration between what the model said and what the race actually delivered. It's the kind of expertise that takes 15 years to build. And it doesn't exist in anyone else in the same way. Now let's look at the scenario that is clearly unfolding. On one side, Red Bull losing key players at an accelerated pace. Christian Horner out, Newey out, Courtenay out, Wheatley out, Marshall out at McLaren. Lambiase confirmed to leave by 2028. The RB22 with its own engine for the first time, a huge technical gamble that is still paying off in performance at the start of 2026. Verstappen, the team's biggest asset, showing public signs of impatience. And Red Bull finishing the first 3 races of 2026 behind Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren, a reality that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. On the other hand, Ferrari with the best chassis they've produced in years. With 2 top-level drivers growing in sync with the car. With improved internal stability. With a technical infrastructure that has improved substantially. But still with that specific hesitation. That second of delay between what the race demands and what the pit wall decides. And at the heart of these 2 realities, the most important strategic question of the 2026 paddock. What happens if the quickest decision finds the right car? The answer is not hypothetical. It has precedent. Because the history of Formula One is full of moments when a single variable shifted the axis of dominance. When Michael Schumacher went to Ferrari. When Ross Brawn assembled the technical structure that transformed Scuderia Ferrari. When Adrian Newey arrived at Red Bull and the team went from being a promising team to a championship-winning team. When James Allison went to Mercedes and restarted a winning cycle. In these cases, the change wasn't in the car overnight. It was in systemic trust. In the ability to make difficult decisions in difficult times without hesitation. The final question, then, is not about technology. It's not about turbocharging, power delivery, or downforce. It's not about who has the most powerful engine or the most efficient aerodynamics. It's about something more basic and, at the same time, more difficult to replicate. Who's in control of the race when everything starts to fall apart? Who reads the chaos best? Who acts first? Who confirms without hesitation? Who gives the driver the certainty that when he hears the instruction over the radio, that is the right decision, not an attempt, not a gamble, not an average of opinions, but the conclusion of a quick, rigorous process calibrated by the experience of hundreds of races. This is the scarcest resource in modern Formula One. Scarcer than money, scarcer than driver talent, scarcer than wind tunneling capability or engine power. It is the voice that makes the final call. And in the paddock of 2026, everyone knows where that voice is. Everyone knows its worth. And everyone, including the people who pay salaries in this sport, is watching where it goes. Because championships aren't only lost on the track. Sometimes, they get lost in the pit wall. So think carefully. If Ferrari resolves this specific decision point, if those calls go from delayed to instantaneous, from hesitant to definitive, does that unlock a completely different level? Does that transform potential into dominance? Or does that prove that even the best strategist depends on the system around them to function? And on the other hand, if Red Bull continues to lose key players, if the next to leave is someone who, like Lambiase, has an irreplaceable relationship with the team, how long will it take for the cracks to become consistently visible in the results? This isn't a matter of the calendar. It's not a matter of 5 races or 10. It's a matter of timing. Of when the accumulated weight of the changes exceeds the team's capacity to absorb them. And that moment may already be underway. Leave your analysis in the comments. Because this change, if it happens, will not only change races. She will change an era. If you want to keep up with what's happening behind the scenes in Formula One, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next move might already be underway.